My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours, and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, but also getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. You can find the link to our playlist in the show notes. Welcome to episode 86. I'm your host, Simon Fink. Our guest today is H3000. The collaborative project from Luke Steele and Jarrad Rogers are releasing their debut record today. In today's episode, we're talking with Luke and Jarrad about the self-titled record, touring sustainably in 2021, and the music of Kanye West and Yebba. Here we go. Our guests today are maybe more well known separately. One is the frontman for multiple Australian bands such as The Sleepy Jackson and Empire of the Sun, and the other is an Australian songwriter and producer who has worked with the likes of Charlie XCX and Lana Del Rey. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Luke Steele and Jarrad Rogers from H3000. Good morning, gentlemen. How are we?
Good. Thanks for having the H3000.
Yeah, thanks, man. Good morning.
Of course. Well, Luke, we were just very quickly discussing, I think it's evening for yourself. You're currently in California?
I am. I'm in Southern California. I've been evacuated from my ranch in Northern California, and I'm at this pretty cool property, actually, in San Luis Obispo by the beach.
Sounds lovely.
Yeah. It's been interesting, It's kind of pretty, heavy up there in Northern California with the fires, and it's all just, Yeah, I know you guys down there went through that last year, so you know what it's like, but yeah.
Yeah, it is. Well, hopefully the ranch and yourself and everyone are okay. Jarrad, whereabouts are you joining us from today?
I'm in Melbourne.
Oh, beautiful.
Beautiful lockdown state of Melbourne. Anyway, we won't talk about that.
Well, I'll try and keep this as COVID-free conversation as I can today, gentlemen. I promise.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations, as the new record is out today for H3000. It's a very exciting time.
Yeah. Woo.
Yeah.
Finally.
It really is. Only took about 25 years to come out.
Well, I guess that was where I was going to start us off today, is that a lot of projects kind of in the last 12 months have been due to people being inside their houses or in their studios and not having much time to do much else. How long have these songs and has the project been in the works?
We finished it right before the pandemic, right? And then it was meant to drop, and then it was, 2020 happened. So, I think it was put on hold for a year. So,
yeah, it was pretty hard to navigate how the heck we were going to do it. But, we finished it in a very pandemic style just before the pandemic hit, which was pretty funny when you look back.
We did a lot of the recording via Zoom and, in studios. Didn't really catch up that much. And so we were literally ahead of our time now looking at it.
But we were living in the same city, so it was just the flow that we got in working that way. It wasn't that we were living in different countries, but yeah, ahead of our time. We were learning the tricks before we needed to put them into practice.
I don't know if you've ever been to LA, Simon, but sometimes if you want to get from one side of town to the other, it can take about 3 hours. So
I've been 2 or 3 times now, and I always forget, I guess, how hugely expansive the city is, and it does take you. It's crazy. It kind of sounds like you guys were ahead of the curve in terms of recording remotely and sending stuff back and forth even before the pandemic. Was that the way that the whole record was written, or were there times where you guys were together?
We did a few sessions together, but I think we connected pretty clearly that we know what each other has to do, and I think that was one of the great loves of the project. It was like Jarrad would send a dope track, I'd hear a lyric or a melody, I'd dive into the subject, send it back, and it was, even before we had time to catch up, we'd have a track done, and that was what was such a great blessing about the project.
I think when we caught up, it was less work and more hanging out, which was it's kind of getting time to hang with each other, because when you create, sometimes you get so busy, but a project like this, you want the friendship to be the number one thing, and we got time to hang and do that, and work was like when we weren't together, which was nice. It's kind of a cool way of doing it. Yeah. It's often the other way around. You go and work together, do whatever, and then you leave and you go and hang with someone else. This was completely backwards,
You guys met in California, I think, for was it for the Dreams project that you had with Daniel Johns, Luke?
We met at Kermit the Frog's.
Kermit the Frog studio.
Yeah, Kermit the Frog's house, Henson Studios. And
very magical place. Very magical place.
I was going to say that. Yeah,
that place is just such a blessing. Like after working there for so many years and hearing all the stories, like George Harrison met his wife there, to the room we were in. Carole King did Tapestry, and the Carpenters did their big stuff, to the Police. Tom Petty did a lot of stuff. Tom Petty had an architectural hand in the roof design. They were going to finish it, and he said, "No, you can't finish it because it sounds so good, with that extra that So yeah, we met there, and it was like so cool. Jarrad did some amazing stuff on some tracks that we had, and it was just like, you build that connection and friendship, and then off you go.
Yeah, it was I guess first connection via music, but then it was a friendship that can build, and then H3000 came from that being, the friendship being there and being able to just share ideas and go, hey, what do you reckon of this? And then him sending it was really very effortless and not designed. It just kind of happened.
When I'm curious, because when you guys kind of sit down as friends, as mates, and you're like, we've obviously got a connection here, let's make some music. Is it discussed, I guess, any parameters, or because the work that both of you have done respectively, like Jarrad, you've worked with Charlie XCX and Lana Del Rey, and Luke, obviously there's Empire of the Sun, there's Sleepy Jackson. Do you discuss what the sound of the project might be like, or things that you can and can't do, or is it just kind of free for all and then work it out as you go along?
Yeah, you can't discuss it. It's like that, how Brian Eno used to say, never analyze while you're creating, because it's just like, being a surfer riding a wave and then trying to, work out the physics while you're on the wave. It's just like impossible. And if you do it, it creates too much like thought into it. I think that was so cool, is that, the ideas and experimentation and the mistakes become the identity.
Yeah. You probably discover what you don't want to do more than what you do along the way. We do something, oh, no, that's not what that's not really a vibe, and that leads you to what you end up with. Yeah.
The songs and the record are part of my language, but they sound fucking huge. They're nice. Sonically, they're massive. Was that always, I guess, when you're in the studio and you're coming up, or even when you're sitting there separately and sending stuff to each other, I guess, again, without thinking too much, and I know we just discussed that, but like, was it, let's see how big almost we can make these songs. Let's see how much of a room or a world we can fill with just this sound.
So cool. It's so cool you say that, because I thought that as well. Like Jarrad, what he does is incredible, you know. And a couple of times I've seen how he's working, sending things to certain master buses and compressing things in different channels. But it's like that thing people have a touch, you know, that, and I was talking this today about my kids. They were saying, if I did all these classes in drawing, would I draw like that? And we were talking about, no, it's people have different gifts, you know. And Jarrad's gift is he can take different sounds and things and meld them together like a chef does, you know, with all different flavors and make it taste and sound incredible.
Well, thanks, bro.
No worries, Matt. It's true. Sometimes I'd be like, I don't know how the beat is knocking like that or the kick is hitting with it. It's, yeah.
I probably, without calculating it, tried to make it as... It felt like a grandiose experience or opportunity to work with someone like Luke, being a fan first. So I was like, yeah, let's make this should fill stadiums. Let's make it massive. You know, I guess that's maybe it was in the back of my mind, you know.
If you're gonna go for it, yeah, you might as well like shoot it out of the park. Yeah. Was there ever any obviously friendly, but a bit of competition between the two of you? Because I know you're both producers. Was it like, I'll make this sound massive, and then the next one you get back is like, oh fuck, that sounds even bigger or even more?
Yeah, there was a few little moments, but I think we understand the goal, you know, and what we're going for. So sometimes you just take a few hours and take a few deep breaths and you come back. But it's like when your wife says something. I remember reading an interview yesterday that Jarrad did for something, and he said this great line, like talking the respect for his wife, and it was about, you know, she'll say something, but most of the time it'll be right, you know.
Exactly.
And I relate to that so much, because at the time you're like, oh my God, like I'm pissed right now. How could you say that? I just spent 3 weeks working on this. But they're always pretty much right, because their instinct is so strong, and you come back fresh and you approach it and it's better. But we only had a few moments of that, really.
There was always a mutual, like, underbelly of trust as well. Underbelly is probably the wrong word. But, you know, that a foundation of trust where, you know, if Luke was really strong about something and, you know, it's creativity, you kind of, if you passionately believe in it, you are going to put your case forward. But I think there was a mutual two-way, well, if he really believed it, then I'm just going to trust that. And likewise, you know, I think that was healthy, because I think it allowed us to get rid of ego, you know, as much as we could.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
And then the wives actually told us what was good or not when we went home. So there you go.
The track list was decided by the wives. Due to, as we, at the start of the convo, we mentioned like that you guys were ahead of the curve in terms of remote recording, Zoom, everything else. And then in the last 18 months, we have all found ourselves kind of still at home, or like still not out in public to 100%. Has the writing between you two continued, and there's more material now to possibly look at? Obviously, we won't discuss any future H3000 albums, as we've only got the first one today, but yeah, I'm just wondering whether there's more material that's been building in the background.
Little ideas, but I think we've spent so much time like trying to get the, you know, the videos and the rollout and everything else. It just...
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
It seems to take forever these days, you know. You need to have, you know, everything from, you know, TikTok to Instagram to, I don't know. There's got to be a funnier way of saying it, but I think you know what I mean. It's like,
yeah.
You spend pretty much like 95% of the time designing content, you know, when you should really be making the next record.
Yeah, that's true. But I think there's a point where you want to actually give everything you've got to the current body of work that you're promoting, so you dive into that. And
yeah,
there is almost feels like it's chapters or seasons of creativity. But yeah, there's little ideas floating around that I'm sure we'll dive in and get a flow going on for another couple of months and make another record.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks maybe this time it'll be even faster. Who knows? Yeah.
I do want to touch on the videos and the rollout in a second, but I'm curious because with the videos that you guys have released so far are fantastic. Do you ever have labels or management or whoever it is kind of approach you with ideas for the visual aspect of it? As you said, I know that a lot of artists are being pushed to, or being suggested, to, you know, get on TikTok and other. Are there any times where you guys are approached by these people and some of the ideas are just terrible?
Are you allowed to say it? Are you allowed to respond to that?
I don't know. I think now people seem so more transparent, like even talking to the label now. It just feels like we're not kids anymore and this is great or this isn't great, you know.
Yeah.
I find that with management and everyone that represents us, you know, now is just there's no crap going on. It's either good or it's not. And, you know, everyone was pretty willing on this one. And we just, you know, again, there was a lot of strong favour on the artists. You know, we had Ben Arthur in, I think he's in the South Wales and UK, designed the album art, which built such a strong flavour to what we're thinking. And then Collider coming in, who are just genius designers. And I think part of the challenge is having God's favour. It doesn't always happen, and you end up spending, you know, tons of money on something that maybe wasn't right, you know. Yeah. So this project was, I think we've talked a lot about it, but it was quite a supernatural process with everything from the music to the artists to the videos, and I think that's why it's such a success in our eyes.
Yeah.
This one, 100%. Sorry, and let me just clarify. I did mean previously if there was any that maybe not terrible, but maybe just missed the mark of what you were wanting for the project.
Oh, yeah, always.
Yeah, plenty. Loads.
Yeah, sorry. Just to clarify. As you mentioned, Collider have worked on the visual aspects for this project, and the videos are incredible. They're done, I think it's the same company that do Fortnite, is that correct?
Yeah, Unreal Engine, yeah.
Yeah, they're these extremely expansive and ultra realistic kind of worlds that I believe is dubbed Planet 3000.
Yeah.
Are you guys, first off the bat, are you guys big gamers yourself?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, no, the last game I played, I think, was Mortal Kombat in about 1995 or something at a street corner or something.
In a milk bar. I avoid them because I reckon if I started, that'd be it. I'd be so lost in it that'd be the end of everything for me. I'd get too into it. So I'm one of those addictive kind of personalities, and I'm very aware that it would be pretty crazy. So this was a bit of a taste into that world, I guess.
The visual aspect of what Collider have done is incredible because it kind of does match that huge soundscape we were talking about before. They pair together so nicely. I think, is there a plan to bring like a playable version of Planet 3000 to the masses or to the public?
Yeah, we are in discussion about it. Have been for a bit. Hopefully that would be amazing. I think for people to be able to go beyond just watching, I think that is definitely a passion of ours, for people to be able to feel like they're part of it. You know, let them in behind the curtain, let them feel like they can walk around the world, and so many opportunities in this kind of a space that we're playing in. For sure, I think that would be amazing.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, completely. It's just missing that one element. You know, that Marvel budget of $10 million apparently that you do that. I think if you put that and then it comes to life, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't think the idea is enough these days, you know, unless you've got, you know. Sorry, that's just me going on a bit of rant, but yeah. Go on. We'll move on.
That's all right. Well, I was just going to lead from that to, I guess, a live show where these days more and more bands are having more immersive live shows, and not necessarily spectacles, but like different ideas for the live production. Could we see some form of Planet 3000 when you guys do take this project out onto the road?
Yeah, we've actually already designed the stage in 3D, so we're just waiting to see what happens with the world, you know. But
absolutely want it to be an experience, that's for sure. Something that you feel like you're stepping out of reality for that moment of time. That's the goal, for sure.
Yeah, it'd be so great to do these songs live and hear the sonics. And you painted such a good picture before, Simon, when you're talking about the size of the tracks and that. Yeah.
That's the thing. These songs, I don't think either of you are kind of I don't think we'll be seeing H3000 at like Oxford Art Factory or anything like that. These songs are built for the outside. I think, Jarrad, you mentioned before, like for arenas, for stadiums, these songs are huge. So I imagine that there is like a equally huge spectacle of a live aspect to it as well that goes with it.
Yeah, Luke doesn't do anything by halves when he goes live. That's for sure.
Can we expect because the songs, there's a lot of, what's the word? Sonically, it's a lot of electronic music. There's, I imagine that there's lots of pedals, lots of kind of gear that you guys are using. Do you think it's going to be something where it's just you two on stage, or possibly a few other band members to make that sound even bigger?
Most definitely just me and Jarrad, you know.
Yeah.
I think that was real clear from the start, and with the blueprint and you know, being able to tour more places, you know.
Like, yeah, exactly.
I think that was the biggest downfall when I was touring with Empire. It was just would get offered all kinds of shows all around the world. Like, do you want to play in Egypt, or you want to play here? And it's just becomes impossible because you have too much baggage, you know. And I think that's what was so cool about the music. It's concise. It's me and Rogers, and keep it like that.
Yeah, for sure. It'd be fun to have like a massive stage and just these tiny two dots on there. That's kind of always fun.
Yeah.
I imagine it's difficult to, and just a word you just mentioned before, Luke, which I'm kind of curious on, in how much the planning of the rollout and everything else, and as we discussed, you're not thinking about anything other than the music when you're creating it. But these days in 2021, like touring has to be sustainable, and you've got like a footprint that you're leaving as a artist or band or company or whatever you want to look at the product as, if you will. But like, how much of just thought of that? How much thought do you guys put into that when you're thinking of the rollout and trying to make it as, I guess, eco-friendly, or if that's what you want to call it, but how much thought do you put into that?
Well, everything, because it's the blueprint of your destiny. So you have to, be involved in everything, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the nimbleness allows us to leave less of a footprint just by nature of it, I think, which is good. We have to care for this planet more.
Agreed. I think that's very important. Very, very true. Gentlemen, for both of you, we would usually speak to our guests about what they are currently listening to in terms of what's currently on their stereo. Do either of you have a favourite record or favourite track at the moment?
Oh, such a difficult question.
Mine is the Kanye Jesus is King record. Like, I just think that was such a bold record. And I listened to it, it came out, but it didn't really hit me at that time. It was obviously really cool, but right now I just think it's just such a dangerous and kind of powerful record for the time.
Dangerous is a good word.
Yeah, and I think the new Killers record is like probably their best record. It's I just feel some of the things that Brandon Flowers is like singing about.
It's definitely not like a step back. I don't think that's the right term, but maybe like usually I think people think of the Killers as like, stadium indie rock, whereas they've kind of dialed it down a little bit and it's a little bit more introspective on this record.
Yeah, I just thought some of the things he was singing about and the themes, and it's pretty bare, There's some things that he says that are pretty... It's like he's getting closer and closer, and he was talking a lot about his love for Springsteen, and it's sort of, I don't know, I like how him and the band, they're always pushing, for something new, they feel fresh.
Yeah, definitely. Jarrad, what about yourself?
Oh, I'm flicking through I have a playlist where I save everything that I think is interesting. It's probably that's why I can't do it, because I find so many things interesting. I think there is one voice at the moment where I just shake my head, and that's Yeba. But whether she's like the favourite thing that I've got going on at the moment, it's probably not. But I think for me, because production is the space that I sit in this kind of world. It's little bits of lots of different things, but a voice is what always stops me on tracks. And she just has this voice, man. It was like, what the heck is going on there? That's that intrigue of. Same with Luke. Okay, it's the thing with Luke. You can't go and make that. You can't buy that. You can't. You can't put that into a plug-in and come up with it. That's a God-given thing. That's, and I think that's probably what draws me in. But that can go from, lots of different things. The Donda, I've had that on, okay, over the last couple of days, just trying to figure out what the heck he's doing this time. But I think, not to make it all about Kanye, but I was intrigued about that whole rollout. I mean, what the heck? It was just, there you go. That's when you got billions of dollars, you can create that kind of a hype. Wow. Gee.
God.
Stadiums just to refine the record. Here we go. Yeah,
so
very good.
What you're saying is that we won't see a house burning in a stadium for the next H3000 record? Is that it? Or?
Well, we had that as the blueprint, but he took the idea. So, we're just rethinking it. We're rethinking.
When you guys are listening to new music, just on what you both kind of said, do you you're both producers, you're both songwriters, you're both artists and musicians. Do you kind of find that when you're listening to new music or just listening to music that you're, I guess some things, some are some make the favorites list from like a songwriting perspective, but there's some might be from like a production choice or a producer choice. Do you kind of separate it or have it separated in that way? Or is it just like, if it's a good track, it's a good track?
Definitely separates for me. Sometimes it's just a great song and the song, but sometimes I have got a favourites list where it's literally like the way they process the kick drum, or the way that one synth is, and I'll save it and make a note of that's the thing I like about that. It's funny though. I shouldn't say I make a mental note, and music is funny like that for me. It's just completely off topic, but going back and having to look at a list of really old songs, and they're talking songs from like 20 years ago that never saw the light of day, that were just written in one day and never thought of again, but you can still remember the song and you can still remember it just leaves this like burnt tattoo on your memory and your brain. And the same with like a favourites playlist. You'll know why you saved that song because it's immediately sticks. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I find it interesting. Maybe it's completely irrelevant.
No, I 100% agree with that. Luke, what about yourself?
Yeah, I think the same thing. For me, I think as I get older, the song I notice just is the boss, the king. And it just always comes to the forefront. Like in art school, I'd listen to a lot of finesse and, Venetian snares and kind of strange stuff that, was maybe like glitch electronic music. But as you get older, you realise, well, I want to hear the voice, the singing of the song, what's it about? And yeah, I think you get more choosy as you get older, you kind of want it all.
I can definitely understand that and respect that. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time today. I do appreciate you coming on the podcast, and congratulations again on the album H3000. It is fantastic.
Respect.
Thank you very much, Ben. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you, man.
I appreciate it.
And that's our show. A massive thank you to Luke Steele and Jarrad Rogers for their time. H3000, the self-titled record, is out now, and we've left links in the show notes if you'd like to buy or stream the record. We also want to give a huge shout out to Mariam at EMI Music for helping out with today's interview. You can find a link to our Spotify playlist in the show notes, where you'll be able to listen to all of our guests' picks. If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Thursday and Friday morning, with guest playlists streaming on Spotify at the same time. You can follow the playlist profile on Spotify, and you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook and TikTok. Until next week, cheers.